DEI impact on anime. If you've seen any of my content, you know we've talked about DEI before, but most of the time that pertains to video games or TV shows or movies. I've never really thought about its impact on anime because most time it's from Japan. Japan's not really big on the whole DEI thing. It's based on manga that is then adapted into anime. Now you can have bad adaptations of manga, but usually it's because they change the story or they skip stuff, or maybe the animation itself is just bad. It's not usually for DEI purposes. If it's made here, like what Netflix did with that Lord of the Rings like animation movie they did, or what they did with the whole Queen of England thing where they made her black, or Anne Boleyn, I think, where they made her black. That's different. Netflix does that shit all the time. Or if you're Disney and there's a redheaded character and you want to change it to be a black person, that happens all the time too. Both in animation form and real life form when it comes to these IRL type, I guess, movies and TV shows. So I wanted to watch this and see what he kind of had to say because it was very interesting to see where he's going to go here, because I don't know, because I never really thought DI really impacted anime. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. While we watch this, I'm going to change the speed to 1.5. I usually do that for reacts because they tend to get long anyway. I have a hot anyway. All right.
So I wanted to talk about a topic that was actually requested by a Patreon member. So I wanted to talk about this, but I didn't know if it was really a video worth talking about. And I'm going to talk about a multitude of things in this video. So even though the title will be one thing, there's a couple of things that I do kind of want to talk about. And that is the idea of DEI and US aid, which some will know about, being somehow infecting in the anime industry. Now, here's the way I see it, and it's going to be quite straightforward. US aid has been proven, this has been proven by fact, that it has had involvement in the gaming media industry. Now, there are many media.
Well, yeah, the whole GamerGate thing. They hate gamers. They consider gamers right wing, or they consider gamers Nazis or racist, all that good stuff. So yeah, they made a concerted effort to push the opposite agenda. Yeah, that's well known, and we've suspected it for quite a while.
gaming media outlets that also are involved in the anime industry, whether it's light novels, mangas, particularly more mangas and anime itself. And more so, it leans, if I had to rank it from most involved down to least, it would go most with anime, manga, and then light novel being the least. And so I do believe, based on things that have already been shown, and I'm just going to switch over to this screen, hopefully this works well in editing, that there has been proof that USAID has had involvement in gaming industry.
Yeah.
Which would lead me to believe that there has clearly been some involvement in the anime industry as well. Now, there's been an article that I found a while back that predates 2022. Like, this is pretty crazy. And there was talk about it being involved with Crunchyroll as well. Now, this is the thing. There's still a lot of more information to come out, so this may be a topic that I may have to retouch back on. But I do think it is a topic worth talking about because it highlights influence from other foreign countries trying to impact on the Japanese culture itself and also the Japanese media and trying to force potential censorship.
Okay. Okay. He's going in this direction. Okay, I never considered that part of DEI, but I guess so. I guess that makes sense. It's like we know. I mean, it's well known that especially with what localizers have been doing here with their translations, but these companies like Crunchyroll, Funimation at the time before they were absorbed by Crunchyroll, they would try to influence what the Japanese mangakas and animation studios would do, how they would animate things, and or what they would animate. Right? They got to make sure that whatever they release worldwide, they want to make sure matches whatever these Western people think it should be. Right? It's got to match their sense of morality, and unfortunately, that that's not a good thing. It's really not. So I think okay. So that's the route he's going. Got it.
Now, this is the thing that makes it kind of a hairy situation, is that evidence could go either way. Some people are trying to say that this isn't true and all the rest, and there's the evidence for it. But as more information comes out through this administration change, and again, I don't care who you vote for, but clearly there's been some form of heavy amount of funding going into left-leaning media outlets that are very much pro-censorship, forcing certain ideas and values, especially onto Japanese media. And this involves gaming and anime. And so
the reason they're doing that is mainly because it's so popular. They're trying to reach the younger generation. They're wanting to push their agenda and their morality into these things to reach this younger generation because anime and games are so popular. That's why they even started getting to this whole thing to begin with. It's propaganda. It's indoctrination. That's what they're trying to do. Normalize their way of thinking.
Clearly seen some of that push. And Crunchyroll being the company that they are, and their history when it comes to animes and funding and certain projects, and also other things that they've been linked to, other corporations and the censorship that's been pushed, it is very easy to see why people have linked the two together. Why they're linking the DEI stuff and all of this funding kind of stuff. And it's very obvious. It's very easy to sit there and say, yes, this is clearly something that's going on. Now that
Okay.
we're seeing it, there's clearly going to be more stuff that's going to come out later on. But how deep will this rabbit
Probably.
hole go? Any guess is as good as a guess, but it's clear as day that the gaming industry has been severely corrupted, and it was slowly seeping into the anime industry as well, which was why we were getting a massive push for censorship. And a great example of that was recently, and it just came to the top of my mind, Mushoku Tensei. Mushoku Tensei had 2 different versions of Season 2. And
What? There's 2 different versions of season 2. Look, I know people hate that. I mean, hell, there's a lot of people on Twitter that hate that anime. They hate the way the main character is, how perverted he is, which, I love that obviously, hence my name on Twitter and YouTube. But they also hate the fact that, he took multiple wives. It hurts their sensibilities, right? So they don't like it. They want to censor and change things. But I didn't realize there were 2 different versions of season 2. Okay, we'll have to see what he says here.
And there was already articles coming out talking about how studios and publishers are pre-censoring animes in production,
Yeah.
knowing that the West won't like certain things, so they're just going, well, we'll just cut it out of production before.
And that's why they've started doing what like Crunchyroll and Funimation, some of these people, like he's mentioned, are trying to do when they influence Japan. So that Japan finally gets to the point where they're like, we'll just cut this stuff out to begin with. That way there's no problem. That's why I hate, look, there's a lot of things, a lot of benefits, a lot of good things with uh the global economy, globalization, I guess they would call it. But there's also a lot of bad things because not everybody is the same. Not every group of people is the same. What one nation may be okay with, another nation may find offensive. So when you're pushing out a product globally, you can't please everybody. And there's a reason why Japan and their animation projects and their mangakas have become, well, manga, excuse me, have become so popular. It's because people love what they do. People love the ideas they're putting into this. Not everybody has to like the same manga or the same anime, but to have the option to get your etchy or your offensive or your shonen battle anime or whatever, you have options there. So people love to see the culture, the Japanese culture come through the manga and the anime. It's great. And if you censor it, to get rid of whatever affects or offends these people's sensibilities, you're taking that culture away. And that's the problem I have with this. We're the racist people at this point if we want to censor this stuff because we're telling that the Japanese people essentially that your culture, what you produce is bad. We don't like it. You don't have to buy it or to partake in whatever product they're putting out. That doesn't mean you have to go and then censor it to make sure that nobody else has the chance to partake and enjoy that same product. It's a horrible situation, and I think it's wrong. And I love Japanese culture, even if there's things I may not agree with. Because look, I have tattoos. When I go there in April, there's going to be certain things I can't do. One, because I have tattoos. Two, because I'm a foreigner. Right? They are very xenophobic, which honestly, I don't mind. I kind of wish we were a little bit more like that here. Not because we don't like other groups of people, but because cultures can't intermingle. It just doesn't work that well. You tend to lose the identity of that nation that you are a part of when you get 5, 6, 7 different types of cultures and try to intermingle them all together. It just doesn't work. And Japan has been able to avoid that. But we're sidetracking here. I mean, I'm okay with how the Japanese people are. I'm not going to go over there and complain that I can't go into some of the bathhouses or some of the places I may want to go because I have tattoos or because I'm a white guy. It's not going to offend me. Yes, it'll suck, but it's their culture. I'm going there. I have to respect their way of doing things. And that's the problem. We don't, as a Western nation, a lot of these people in these positions that are trying to influence Japanese, they don't want to respect the Japanese culture. They don't want to respect the Japanese people. They want to force the Japanese people to do things the way They want them to do it, and that's the problem.
we even make it. So they're forcing censorship that they would normally do for just the West, also on Japanese audience. So you can imagine how the Japanese audience would feel finding out that their favorite shows are going to be censored because of Western values, which I don't even see as Western values. This is just Western political, certain DEI values.
Western bullshit.
I don't like using the word left or right, but it's very obvious that there are certain political groups out there in the
Yep.
DEI space that are trying to push certain views on how media should be presented and saying, well, no, we can't have this, we can't have that, we have to censor this is too hot of a topic. And this is clearly continuing. Whether this continues more, well, that's very much up for debate, because now that everything's kind of shifted and changed and a lot of funding is just getting completely ripped, a lot of these individuals.
I don't know if it's going to go away. They are fighting them tooth and nail in courts, and they are pushing back as hard as they possibly can because they are losing their cash cow, and they know it. So we'll have to see what ultimately happens, because to fix the government and to fix all this fraud and wasteful abuse, it's going to take a long time. It's going to take more than 4 years. So how much of it actually gets done, I don't know. So we'll see.
Are running scared, saying, oh no, I'm going to lose my job where I get to push these ideas and values about censoring other people's work and vandalizing other people's work. And that is something also that's been going on for years, where certain individuals, dub voice actors, translators, individuals on social media that have bragged that they're taking over Japanese shows. I mean, I
Yes.
constantly get shown
Yep.
all the translation stuff to do with.
It happens way too much for us to actually constantly. Well, some people actually make videos every time it happens. I don't have the time for that. I work for a living full time. I'm not a full time YouTuber, so I can't do this every time it happens. But just look what, and he may be talking about because it sounded like he was about to say it. Monica Rial did, and Jamie Marchi did, or Marky or whatever her name is. I don't really care. They're both very horrible, miserable people. But look what they did with the Dragon Maid, where they changed the lines from the Japanese lines to English when they dubbed it to mention the patriarchy and stuff like that. I mean, it's horrible. Well, localizers today, like there was a scene I saw earlier where it had Riz in it. I'm like, Riz, don't put things in a localization when you dub it that's going to, in 5 years, be extremely dated. 5 years from now, Riz could be completely just gone. People don't even say that word anymore. People are like, "What's that?" I mean, are you old? I mean, that's like language changes fast. Well, at least the slang does, right? The slang does. I mean, my kids are saying things now, and I'm like, "What the hell does that mean?" Like cap, no cap. Now they don't even say that much anymore, right? I mean, it's crazy how much language changes so fast, right? So you have to make sure when you localize things, you don't put words in there and that's slang. It makes you feel cool. Another perfect example of how annoying and dated localizations and dubs can be. High School DxD. I love High School DxD, and later on, it's definitely not as bad. But in that first season, the dub Issei is horrible, and I hate it. And I have to listen to the Japanese version of it to be able to even watch season one. So I mean, it's dubs can be horrible, especially years later if they do it wrong. So
Dragon Maid. That's just one example, straight away off the top of my head, where they forced in certain political values
yeah,
to go along with this whole patriarchy and all the rest.
Oh,
And it
see,
goes
there
against
you
what
go.
the original character said in the Japanese version. This isn't a matter of, oh, but they adjusted it to fit Western wording and like translation, like they're just trying to make it so it's understandable for us and our slang. No, they are changing the original intent of what is being said to push certain values that they believe
exactly.
that should be ham-fisted in people's faces. And even people.
And they think they have a moral cause to do this. They think they have a right to do this. I mean, if you've heard them, especially them two people that I talked about earlier, if you've heard them talk at conventions, oh my God, it's grating. I'd never want to be in a room with them. I really don't. And I hate when I see a dub and I hear their voices. That's why most of the time my wife and I, we watch anime in sub mode only, because I don't have to deal with the dub. Especially seeing how it seems like maybe it's not as bad now that Crunchyroll absorbed Funimation, but there for a while, you could hear certain voice actors in everything. And I hate that. It kind of takes me out of the immersion a little bit when you hear them everywhere. Some of them's not bad, like is it Chris Metzen? Even though I don't like him, I think he's a dick for what he did to Vic Mignogna, but he didn't specifically do it, but he obviously wasn't friends with him with what came out. But um, his voice, he voices Zoro, he voices Piccolo, um, think he even did Vegeta as well, if I'm not mistaken. But he also does All Might in My Hero Academia. There's places where I hear his voice and it's noticeable, but it's not as bad. It's I don't know why. That one doesn't bother me, but yeah, a lot of times when I hear the same voice actors all the time, it kind of takes me out of it. So I use sub.
that I know in real life that are not political, left or right, are getting annoyed at this. They're just like, I just want to watch the show in its original intent, and I don't
Yes.
want this forced values and these forced ham-fisted
Yes.
rubbish that these individual
You want
activists
what
want to put.
you want the Japanese culture that comes through in the manga or the anime to be pure and untainted, and these people just can't do that.
And many of these friends that I also have that are actually political are left-leaning, very left-leaning, that are even sitting there going, I just want to watch it in its original intent. Like, they're getting sick of this. So I see a lot of people on all perspectives getting tired of this rubbish. It only seems to be leftist activists that don't even care about the media. And that
Yeah.
is something that I've noticed, is a lot of the people defending this don't even consume this. They just want to push censorship,
Yes,
and then don't
exactly.
even consume it anyway.
They don't care. They're doing it for other ulterior motives, and they don't care about the product at all. They don't partake in the product. They're too busy doing whatever else they do. Who knows what that may be? But they don't watch anime. They get into it to just push their agenda, and that's all they seem to care about. Again, like I mentioned, these people got into gaming and anime because it's popular and it's where the people are, and they want to push their ideas and normalize everything, and this is probably the biggest pool of people they can reach in the younger generation. So,
And they'll say, oh, but it should be done like this so that it's more open, inclusive, and blah, blah, blah. But they themselves will never support it. And then when these things do get changed, no one purchases it, or very little purchase it, and then they complain that it's not doing well as far as financing. This is why a lot of
yeah,
corporations now are starting to jank back, because these corporations weren't doing this stuff out of the goodness of their heart. They were pandering to a specific group, thinking that they would make more profit from pandering to these groups. They would think, oh, well, maybe they'll give us money if we accommodate to their desires.
they fell prey to Twitter at the time. At the time, Twitter made it seem like it was a huge thing. Like there was a lot of people. Now, also, well, this really blew up in 2020 with George Floyd, and it became a race thing. And so that's when DI really blew up. And so a lot of people in these companies, they either already believed in it, or B, they were too afraid to push back. It became so huge and had so much false momentum behind it that people were afraid to push back on it. And that's why we were in the position we were in. And finally people are starting to realize this isn't the big thing that we thought it was. There's no money here. We're losing money. Now there are people out there that don't care. They will continue to lose money because they are so married to this ideology that they will continue to push it and push it and push it no matter how much money they lose. But there are investors in companies. You are responsible for making money for these investors. There's liability there. So eventually people will have to pull back, and a lot of them already have.
Ignoring their greater market, their greater audience that's much larger. I'm trying to do a circle behind this, but much more larger, and they're alienating them. And the other group is saying, oh, well, you should just get used to the times changing, realizing that the larger consumer base is now upset and they're moving elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Star Wars is learning this the hard way, or Lucasfilm, I guess you could say, and Disney. They're learning this the hard way.
And that is a good sign where it's
Gaming companies are finding this out too. A lot of layoffs. Dragon Age Velgard, I'm looking at you. Concord. These studios are getting shut down because they hire too many people. They hired the wrong people. They push certain agendas in their games, or the people who are making these games like to come on Twitter and start fights and push the wrong stuff on Twitter, piss people off, and people are like, fuck you, I'm not buying your game.
basically capitalism in its truest intent is the consumer has the power to say what they want, rather than
Exactly.
some omnipotent shadow organization or shadow group dictating what can and can't be done. And this is clearly what has been going on in the anime industry, just not as big of a degree in the gaming industry.
Yeah.
Gaming industry was heavily getting hit.
It's huge.
Some of my favorite games, like Fire Emblem, constantly getting bad translations
Getting
done,
changed, yep.
constantly creating headcanons by these translators and voice actors that were changing key storylines, certain romance stories, and changing entire story arcs for these characters in these dialogues just so that they could push their political agendas, removing entire character developments with dot 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 dot
Yep.
dot 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 dot, and that was the end of the conversation. When
Yep.
there's an entire major character development going on.
Like I said, we see this all the time on Twitter. If you're paying attention or you're seeing the right tweets, following the right people, it's just honestly, it's so tiresome to even try to make a video every single time it happens, but it happens so freaking much.
Between two individuals. This goes back to like Fate's Awakening, not Fate's Awakening, Fire Emblem Awakening, Fire Emblem Fates. Bloody the new one, Engaged. Free Houses has some of this problem as well. And even when you look at like Fire Emblem Fates, where they got rid of certain features, like the head pattern stuff, because, oh, Westerners wouldn't like it. It's not your decision to make.
Exactly.
Leave it in there and let the consumer decide if they want to consume that product
Yep.
or not. But this is stuff that's been going on for years, and it's clear that it has infected in the anime industry. I just think anime and gaming kind of work hand in hand on this. And this is why I'm now going to keep a much more closer eye on this, because I want to see just how much of this has infested the wider space. And yes, there are going to be certain individuals that are going to be very scared to talk about these topics because they've had associations with Crunchyroll and all the rest. Like, again, Crunchyroll has done a lot of...
Well, that's another problem all in and of itself. Journalism, reviews, people a lot of times are afraid to say what they really think because they want to keep that access. They want to keep the privilege that they've built up. They want the gaming companies to continue to fly them out to wherever the gaming company is hosted, to do whatever event the gaming company is doing. And if you say what you truly think, if you're getting, even if it's not like, oh, they're pushing DEI, it's woke, if you're just being critical, just on a very basic level, a lot of these companies will stop. They won't give you a review code. They won't bring you out to the events. Disney is horrible at this too. I mean, they want people to constantly shield for them. Carry the Disney flag. If you're critical, they'll remove you from like the little press tour, press list that they have, right? Approved press or whatever it's called. So that does happen, and that is a problem in this industry, especially the gaming industry. That is a huge problem.
Sponsorship. I've heard some interesting stories about certain things that content creators were going to do as a collective, but turn around and didn't because apparently certain other groups allegedly said, no, you can't do this because we sponsor you. Maybe it's a story for another time, but again, I'd need to ask around and find out the legitimacy of that, because again, it's just word of mouth that I've heard it from when it comes to certain things going on with anime awards. So I think this rabbit hole is going to get much, much deeper. And as much as I will be covering anime news, I also want to talk about this as well. So again, stay tuned for more information. Again, if you like this video, hit the like, subscribe, and I'll see you beautiful nerds in the next video.
All right, so yeah, I mean, this guy, he's really good. I love his videos. He's got 2 channels. I'll post them down below in the description of the video. And go check his channel out. Subscribe to his channel. Give him a follow on Twitter if he's got his socials listed. He probably does. I just haven't looked. So let me know down below in the comments what you guys think. I never really put together the whole DEI and its impact on anime. I never really thought about it when it came to anime. Mostly it's been gaming, video, movies. So I don't know. It opened my eyes a little bit. I made that connection now. So, these are things I've thought about before, but I just never really thought, oh, that's DEI. But yeah, it is. DEI is not just about skin color. So yeah, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click that bell for more notifications. So when I go live or drop a new video or drop a new short, you guys will get notified. And I will talk to you guys later.